Yes, welcome to the No State Project Live. I got to bring the levels down there. Holy crap. Welcome to a live, loud edition of the No State Project. So hopefully there's people they're still sitting in their chair. Wow, I do apologize for that. And on the podcast, I will have to bring the levels down at the beginning of the show there. That was, wow. My my daughter is actually using my setup here, the home studio, for school, and I she likes things loud. Holy crap! All right, I think we've got. Do we got things squared away here? Yeah, I think we got things squared away. You got to project. So it's March 8th, 2020, live from the Fortified Compound in Mesa, Arizona, here on my YouTube channel, No State Project. We are still here. And a lot of stuff to get to. If you want to join me, I knew I was forgetting something. So hopefully somebody, hey, foreign source. I tell you, I really enjoyed that call the other day. That was, that was, I wish I should have, I was videotaping that from my end, on with a good camera, and I could have done a separate video for that, but I wasn't. It was a total surprise that he called. So if you haven't heard that call, definitely check it out. It was on the Saturday broadcast. And if you want to join the show here, it's 717-275. And somebody just put this into the chat, since I forgot to do that. It's 717-275-8941. And the passcode is 1233428. And Steve, mahalo. Aloha. He's saying that there was no notification. The odd thing is, I'm not even subscribed to this channel. I run the channel. It's my channel, and I don't know. It would sometime a couple of hours after the show happens, I get a notification that the show is live. So I'm not saying anything nefarious is being done. It could just be because I don't have a monetized channel. It's a small channel. I aggressively market. I've got 23, and I appreciate it. That's not what I mean by that. I appreciate everyone tuning in and watching live, especially. It's just, someone else is saying they didn't get a notification. Foreign source got the notification. So I'm sure some are getting the notification, but not everybody is getting that. Well, who knows what the hell is going. I think it's just simply, it's a small channel. It's not monetized. And even if I complained about it, what are you going to do? What's going to, you blame it on the Irish mafia? The Westies were quite a bunch. Mad Dog Sullivan. I don't remember too many names, but I remember that one. How do you forget that? 717-275-8941, 123-3428 is the passcode, and you can also reach me on Skype. If you instant message me first, I will bring you up on the show, and we can have a discussion. Great discussion I thought we had with Foreign Source there. Again, I wish I had a separate video for that, and it would have been one of those. I would love to put some graphics up, but I guess I could still do that. I'd have to get it off my YouTube channel. But it was good. It just, it shows, and I'm not attacking anybody here. It just shows that nobody is really 100% consistent in their beliefs. No, nobody. But what is fairly common when it comes to, and I'm not saying Foreign Source is one of these, and I mentioned this on the show. I don't think he's one of these neo-type atheists, hardcore type that thinks that religious people are literally clinically insane. And like Bill Maher, who thinks that if you're religious in any degree, you are 100% incapable of any rational thought whatsoever. Zero. Because the idea that you would take something as true without having evidence. But what does happen, and did happen again on the show, is when pressed to prove that there are citizens and there are states therefore a government. You don't have a government, at least in the United States. There is no government without citizens in the state. Then the same arguments that are brought out, the same fallacious arguments that are brought out by the religious types are brought out by the atheists. Atheists who claims, I ain't going to believe it unless there's proof. But they tend to believe in government. And even worse is that even with this evidence proving there couldn't be a government, at least the United States, Canada, whatnot, even when there's absolutely overwhelming and, I got to say, indisputable factual evidence, they still believe the contrary. No. So I had mentioned the phrase sufficient evidence. And of course, I have a particular critic who disagrees with pretty much everything I have to say. Pretty much everything. There's always a comment. Foreign source, I eat meat but find hunting unethical. That is, if hunting is definitely unethical if your life doesn't depend on it. And that is a logically inconsistent position. A lot of people do have that. I'm not saying it makes him a bad person. We're just making a judgment on the logic. So I had used the phrase sufficient evidence on last Saturday's show. And of course, I had to, there was a criticism about that. Who decides whether the evidence is sufficient or not? That is completely subjective. Well, I don't think that that's completely subjective. I think the evidence, depending on what circumstances you're talking about, the evidence either proves the proposition or it doesn't. Now, some yes, some people may not believe it's a convincing argument, but it's not completely subjective. I think sufficient evidence. Let's think of an example. Sufficient evidence that I am of the XY chromosome persuasion is, the way I look. What you have down under, the sound of my voice. I think it seems sufficient that my natural speaking voice with this outrageous accent is probably sufficient evidence that I probably spent a significant time on Long Island. The fact that I say on Long Island and not in Long Island is probably, at least to most people, would be sufficient evidence that I spent a significant portion of my life living on Long Island. I don't believe it's completely subjective. No, that's just wrong. But you kind of expect that. Rick is saying, is that a critic or a creepy stalker? I think he's just kind of a mixture of both. He's a guy that's got a personal beef against me, and every single show, every single show, he has to show up and make a comment about my massive ego, and that I have no room for contrary opinions on the show. It doesn't matter how much evidence there is, that all I do when somebody has a contrary argument to mine, all I do is shout them down and insult them, which if you listen to the last broadcast, I don't think I insulted Foreign Source at all. I thought we had a really good, professional, mutually respectful discussion. We don't agree on a lot, but we were still able to have a professional discussion, and I hope we have more. So the idea that I have a massive ego. I have no money. I barely get 1,000 views per show, but I have a massive ego. I don't think that's sufficient evidence of a massive ego. I don't get it. But hey, people have, and so we'll move into what I titled the show, and I'm hoping people are going to get the reference for the thumbnail. I thought it was funny. I thought it was a great reference. In fact, I didn't. That's why I didn't get the show notes or the call-in number. Because I did the thumbnail moments. I finished it moments before I started the show. So yeah, that's why I thought it was cool. I thought it was funny. I think it's from definitely, and this is purely subjective to a point. I think it's from the absolute best show being created for television today, and is the best show of the last 5 years. So hopefully people can, hopefully people will get that and it's not lost on everybody. The ugliness. If we accept as true the numbers from the CDC, and I know people are saying that a doctor here and there are saying that the state is telling them that every single death must be listed on the death certificate as COVID-19, regardless of the circumstances. Now, I don't know the truth to that. I don't know if that's true. If it is true, like say in Minnesota, they're doing that. That doesn't necessarily equal a global conspiracy and hoax. It may just be some unethical government agents, which, let's be honest, they abound in unethical behavior. Just in the way they're supposed to operate is grossly unethical if they're just going by the book. But even if that was true, it could be. See, the Occams Razor, I think we always have to be a skeptic here. Occams Razor tells us that the simplest explanation with the least amount of assumptions is probably right. May not be right because you don't have all the facts, but it may be and is more likely to be right. So is a doctor being ordered to fudge the numbers, is that evidence of a global hoax? You have to ask some questions here. Assuming it's true, which I really have a problem with. Assuming it's true, though, could it just be they're fudging the numbers so that they get more in federal aid, so they can justify more equipment? That's the simplest explanation. To think that every single doctor, I mean, imagine you would have to have, I'm going to throw an arbitrary number. Let's say there's 50,000 doctors out there working independently, just in the United States. Every single one of them would have to falsify the death records. Every single one. And then the question is, were they doing that in England? Were they doing that in Italy? Were they doing that in South Korea? Were they all ordered by the government to fudge the numbers, that everybody dying? But the numbers, if we accept that they're true, and we have to do that with a grain of salt, I think that if anything, the numbers are being underreported. You got to keep that stock market going. So I had said up until Saturday's show, every time I did the show, the number of cases and the number of deaths reported were doubling every 3 to 4 days. That is insane. So the numbers reported were 277,000 on Wednesday. Reported today of 395,000. So it hasn't doubled. But there were 6,500 deaths. 6,500 deaths and change. And reported today are 12,754. Now, it didn't double, but it damn near did. And it certainly isn't showing, at least the number of deaths is not slowing down. Maybe the number of cases being reported, maybe there's some slowing there. But the number of deaths reported is going at the same rate. Practically doubling. And maybe by the end of the day, there will be 13,000. I mean, there only has to be a few hundred more. And so maybe by the end of the day, certainly by tomorrow afternoon, it will have doubled since the Saturday show. Oh, if I use the logic of the Alex Jones or the whole 5G COVID hoax, then you can correlate. I'm doing my show twice a week and people keep dying. I should stop. It's just like that one joke where Bono is saying, he's like, every time I clap, a child in Africa dies. And so someone yells out, stop clapping, you cold-hearted prick. Correlation does not equal causation. So now we're looking at let me write it down. So we got 395K. Those are the cases. The dead reported is 12.7K. So we'll see. Hopefully the numbers start slowing. They slow down, especially on the dead. But what gets me are the number of theories about what's going on. And you have some people saying there is no illness. It's literally a hoax. It's nothing more than the common cold or the flu. And they're just convincing everybody, including the doctors, including the labs that are testing this. It's all fake. The tests are fake. Nobody's dying. It's all fake. All of it. You got some blaming it on the Jews. I even saw in my Facebook, it's all George Soros. George Soros is deliberately tanking the economy, the world economy, so he can take over. There could be a new world order. They're going to own us through debt, which they haven't since 1913. Even a mainstream videocaster in real estate comes out and says it is the biggest falsehood in real estate. And he says the biggest falsehood is that you own it, because you don't. And he talks about property taxes. And okay, if you had to, you don't own anything now. All the money is not real money. They're all debt instruments. They already own everything. They already own you. I mean, George Carlin was talking about that. I love George Carlin. Oh, do I miss George Carlin? He died in 2008, and for years he was talking about, no, they own you. You don't own your property. Oh, thanks for the number, Def. I appreciate that. Okay, so you've got that where the entire thing is completely orchestrated by George Soros or some other deep state operatives that they're going to do, or the Fed or the globalist, or the CFR. It's the Bohemian Club and whatnot, and they're doing it deliberately. Now, there's not a single shred of evidence to prove that. Not one. Not a single shred that I've seen. Not anything credible at all. But those who have come on the show say, no, I'm not saying that there's no one's getting sick. It's just there's not a different strain. It's not like they said a coronavirus like in 2007. It's not new. It's just the flu, and they're tricking everybody. Then you have where it is a flu. It's a different strain, but it didn't happen organically. It wasn't from what they said in 2007 that it was the culture in southern China of eating certain exotic mammals that caused what you can see under a microscope, an animal virus that jumped species. They're saying, no, that's not true. It was weaponized on purpose, the deep state. And the deep state is doing this to tank the economy purposely, because they know that's the only way to stop Donald Trump, and it's the only way to so that he can't continue his rampage about the deep state and freeing the world. It's all done to attack the impeached president Donald Trump. Q will set you straight, because all the clues were there. They've been telling us this for years. And the savior on the white horse called Donald Trump, the impeached president, he's going to clean out. He's going to drain the swamp. He meant it when he said it. It's been weaponized by the globalists to dethrone the greatest president in world history, who's done more for Israel than anyone else in world history. Because it's April, and it was supposed to go away. But those deep state people, they're good. They're good, and they're doing the bidding of George Soros and Hillary and Obama, the Kenyan, and they're gonna make sure. Then you have, it's real, but it's not a virus, because viruses do not transmit through the air. So even though when you breathe and you're expelling moisture from your lungs, it doesn't matter that there's absolutely 100 years of documented proof, scientific evidence. None of that matters. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Then you've got this new one. I think it's fairly new. And it was sent to me. Mark, you got to look at different sources. You've got to open up your eyes. You open up your eyes, my friend. So I looked. I don't have enough time to go through all this stuff because there's a mountain of links that people send me. First, you heard the impeached president say, windmills cause cancer. Now you've got the guy who talks about the lizard people, literal lizard people. Literal lizard, okay? Not talking about the reptilian brain. We're talking about people shape-shifting because they are literally a different species. They're not human. David Icke. And at the 5G, which is the 5th generation wireless Wi-Fi, for wireless, radio transmission. And they're radio waves. They're causing cancer. And so not only causing cancer, it's causing people to have these respiratory problems because it sucks the air out, sucks the oxygen. And so every time they have a new wireless, 3G, 4th generation, 5th generation, 5G, every time they do that, whoa, we had 4G and we had Soros. Nowhere is causation does not equal causation. Correlation does not equal causation. I mean, come on. So I looked this up, and there are sources listed here, so you can see other sources and you can verify what's in the article. And they have scientific proof here. That could be faked. Yeah, so can this idea that George Soros and the Jews are doing this. So if everything can be faked, why believe that there's a global Jewish conspiracy if everything can be faked anyway? Why is there truth to that? Oh, because David Icke said, or Alex Jones. The guy believes in literal lizard people. Literal. Claims to have seen them. And I know, it's not your only source if you believe that stuff. But where's the evidence? So here we've got, people think that if you take a map of the world's, where the parts of the world where there's 5G, you will see outbreaks of corona. And that's not true. Corona is not, the 5G networks, there's 181 countries, we'll use the term, loosely, that are reporting cases and deaths from coronavirus. But only 34 countries in the world actually have working 5G networks. So an example they give in the article is that Sweden has no commercial 5G network and has just one very small test network in one area of Stockholm. However, Sweden now has over 5,000 cases of coronavirus with 308 confirmed deaths. And the first case was in the city of Jönköping, which is 360 kilometers away from Stockholm. And 360 kilometers is about 175, 180 miles. It is... And so what they say here, and you can see this in the links, scientists have poured immense time and effort into analyzing the COVID-19 coronavirus, including sequencing its genome. Doing this provides the vital data that enable the creation of tests to determine if a person has the disease and is creating a key to creating a vaccine. The data has been released publicly. So any scientist anywhere in the world can analyze it. If you get bored during lockdown, of course, you could take an online course in genomics and analyze it for yourself. Analysis of the data has firmly concluded that the coronavirus is natural, not man-made, and also dispels rumors that it was cooked up in a lab. So you have to look at the actual data there. But the idea that the 5G, not every area. So that's the thing. If it was the 5G, why there's so many ways to pull, so many questions to ask here. If it is the 5G, let's just say for sake of argument, it is. One, it's a typical radio signal. It's almost the same frequency, just at a lower power as 4G and or television or radio. Why is the media showing hospitals with mannequins? Are they also carriers of COVID? I don't know. If maybe it's where a lot of hospitals are gearing up and getting ready. If they're real mannequins, that's the only thing I can figure. That's the simplest explanation with the least amount of assumptions. And I haven't even seen that. Yeah, so foreign says, so the polio outbreak was caused by television. Well, if you go back through the timelines, they'll do that. Well, they all them radio waves in 1917, and you had the Spanish flu. Maybe at the time of the telegraph, there was a cholera breakout. Maybe, so you got to look at the facts. Yeah, foreign sources saying, how did the cruise ship folks get the virus? That's a pretty good point. I don't think they have a 5G network on there, and if they're in the middle of the Pacific or somewhere, And someone's saying that 5G was first used for crowd control. Enough said. I doubt that that's true. If it is the 5G, one, foreign source makes a good point. Why are they still getting it on the cruise ships? Why are they still getting it in areas that have no 5G? And they have scientific or mathematical models that they've used and studied for decades and used, AI, they're creating these scientific models that show the spread and how viruses spread. This is spreading pretty much exactly according to the mathematical models. Could they be wrong? Yeah, they certainly could be wrong. But if it was the 5G, wouldn't it be affecting everybody around the 5G? And some of these people who are alleging this is a hoax because it's just the flu or things like that, a lot of them are also saying that it's a 98% survival rate. If it is the 5G, why isn't it killing everybody? Why are people recovering? You getting a resistance to 5G? So Emily's saying they are getting it because they are just pronouncing it, not because they really have it. Again, that brings into play that all the tests are fake, that all the scientific data that they can see. So when they say that they can see it, maybe it's just it's not that. It's just something else. And all these scientists, all these independent biologists and virologists or immunologists, all of them are being tricked by Soros. Hillary Clinton is tricking and the deep state to get rid of the impeached President Trump. They're fooling every one of these scientists, regardless of their political affiliation, regardless of their geographic location. All of it is fake. I can't believe you, of all people, are falling for this, Mark. I'm being a skeptic. And if I'm going to believe in a worldwide conspiracy, you got to have some evidence. And I haven't seen any compelling evidence. That's why. I'm not saying for those really thick people, okay, I'm not saying that I support martial law. I'm not saying that the government is an ethical, moral organization. It is not. However, not every single thing reported in the mainstream press and not every single thing that comes out of a politician or bureaucrat's mouth is false. And if you think that literally every single thing politicians and bureaucrats say are false, then what's the logical fallacy for that? Yeah, they just want to take away our guns. Well, someone said that was just a distraction. They just want to own everything and everybody, which they pretty much already do. But I'm looking for compelling actual evidence and of evidence that can be verified and you get from multiple sources that have some credibility. But I don't think it's wise to say that take what the government says. That's why I said the numbers are probably being fudged. I'll give you that. I'll give you that. But when you have so many videos independently done and you have friends and family, people you know that are in this knee deep, to think that it's all fake. Come on. They're just whipping everyone into a frenzy so that they could take over. They already own you. And like I went on with the show last week, with all these so-called false flags, for decades, they're all powerful. They have all this money. They have all this influence. They own all the media. Why haven't they gotten away with it? Hell, if you can go by the mainstream reports, the reason why Obama didn't bomb Syria into the next century was because public sentiment and protests were so vocal and so and so in your, so loud, that it looks like it stopped the bombing campaign in Syria. If they were also, that's the thing, it doesn't make sense. Mark, how did they own you? They own everything. They own everything. You have to have permission to do everything. If you don't pay them, you go to jail. We know how corrupt they can be. We know when it comes to court. I know from personal firsthand knowledge, and I have documents to prove it. I posted this stuff. I know that when the IRS attacks you and you are challenging their assertion of jurisdiction, I know that they will lie and say whatever they have to make it look like you don't have a case. I'll say it again. How much are they paying you? Are you guys kidding me? This is my headset. This is my headset. Can we get a good view there? This is my headset. I have no money. That's got to be a joke. I hope it's a joke. Nobody's paying me. I'm a skeptic. I want to see the damn evidence. I'm and not for nothing. Yeah, I've taken quite a hit from being a skeptic. I have, from day one, I have had people pigpile on me for being a lunatic, for being a shyster. Well, I don't know about a shyster, but called right now a violent predator. I've heard it all because I don't have. I take the time to formulate my arguments and my opinions. If there was. Look, I'm the guy who, for how many years, everybody, that there's no evidence. I confronted Scott Bales, a sitting Supreme Court justice at the time, okay, and confronted him in front of a law school auditorium, okay, for evidence proving their claim that just because I'm physically in Arizona, which at the time I was, that their Constitution applied and created obligations and gave them jurisdiction over me. He couldn't do it. I stand by that today. I sit here and I've said for 1,000 shows, it seems, that there's no evidence their laws apply. Zero. And I have the same stupid comments. It's a political issue. Doesn't matter that I'm not even raising the issue out of court because they can't address the actual issue. They know there's no evidence, which is why they even say, well, they got a gun. Yeah, they're gangsters. So I've heard all the I've heard all of the criticisms. All of them. What's different now is that people who actually seem to appreciate the show and people I've been friends with for a decade are now attacking my character. Okay. Well, I was called by someone I'm very close to and have been close to for over 10 years that I sound like some NPC which is a non-playing character. I'm just parroting the official story. No, I'm not parroting the official story. The official story was for a while that it was a hoax. It was a Democrat hoax. That was the official story. I never parroted that stupid claim. It's a Democrat hoax. So Wilma's saying there's nurses coming forward that they're cutting hours because the hospitals are underwhelmed. It depends on which hospital you're at. Now, for example, my wife works at a Scottsdale hospital, and they have been slightly cutting back on the non-clinical hours for some people because they have to cut all non-essential services, such as certain surgeries. If the surgery is not life-threatening, you're not going to get it. They can't have you in the hospital at a time when there are so many people with a virus. It's dangerous to your health. You could die because it's possible to catch it. So they may be underwhelmed as far as non-life-threatening things, but some of them are certainly overwhelmed. If you go to New York, of course, right? So. Global hoax. So, I'm a big boy. I'm used to the criticism. It's not going to stop. Some people, I don't know who you are anymore. You sound just like a statist. You want martial law. None of this makes any sense to me because it's not what I'm saying. Be a skeptic. And for the record, I have never been a New World Order kind of guy. I knew they were bad. I knew that they're willing to kill their own people. I mean, cops kill Americans every day. Every day. Cops kill more Americans every year than terrorists. But I'm not one of these lizard people taking over the world, the globalists, the Satanists. I've never been an Alex Jones type like that. Or they're coming for your guns. I go back. It's all my show is still here on YouTube. Go back, try to find one single show where I was parroting this garbage, and I've had people attack me criticize me. I shouldn't say attack. They criticize me for years. What's wrong with you? Can't you see the truth? No one died in San Bernardino. No one. It was all a false flag, completely fake, crisis actors. I have a close family member who was a paramedic who was there that day. He was there. Got blood on his hand, So I've never been that type. I'm an anarchist. I don't believe that there is any legitimacy to the argument or the claim that governments are real and necessary, and that there are citizens and states. And I've always it's getting to a voluntary society, but I'm not out here preaching this crap, a new world order, that the Jews are taking over. It's all the Jews. Well, Mark, who owns the media? Well, a lot of Jewish people do. Does that equal a conspiracy? This neo-Nazi, this alt-right crap, Jews will not replace us? Give me a break. Not only was I not touting that alt-right crap ever, I've never been a Jewish conspiracy guy. I've never been, while I've done, I'm not one of these sovereign citizen types, even though people like to paint me with that brush. Well, yeah, I know that the facts are that you don't even believe citizens and states exist because the force involved, it's the force. They force people to give the money, and no obligations of allegiance and protection are created. So they're literally just a criminal organization. And we know that you're not saying that the Constitution the original Constitution applies and that the sheriff is the highest law enforcement officer in the state, blah, blah, blah. We know you don't believe any of that. And you actively debunk that stuff. We're going to use that term anyway. So I'm used to the criticism. I'm still a skeptic. So this idea that I'm not the same person that you've known for 4 or 5 years, just go through the shows and you'll see otherwise. And it gets to also this idea. Look, remember, people have accused me publicly of supporting martial law because I suggest being cautious. Do the social distancing. Put a damn mask on. Stay at home, because that will stop the spread of any virus, any airborne virus. And people then take that. How could see that? That's something I can say about the critics. They so completely misunderstand my position. And no, I'm not saying, well, Mark, you've done some NLP practice. You've done that you've studied that and you understand. And you know what they say. And they say that the meaning of your communication is the response that you get. Well, we're not in a therapeutic type setting here. All right. Not everybody is misunderstanding what I'm saying. I'm being very clear on what I'm saying. The fact that people take it wrong is not a problem of my communication. At least I'm not I'm going to be like the impeached president. I accept no responsibility at all. I don't think I'm miscommunicating. I've been, I've been very clear on that. And, and if somebody is going to take my support of what I think is an ethical position, when something is like this is going on, and even if it's all a hoax, just the flu, even if it's just the flu, if it helps to keep 6 or more feet away from people and not have large gatherings, and to put a mask on when you go out, that seems to me a reasonable thing to do to slow down the spread of just the flu. And to try to extrapolate that or to equate that with being okay and agreeing to martial law. Oh, please. Please. All right, I'm going to pull the plug on this. Mark just drank a whole pitcher of the COVID. It's a virus, one that doesn't warrant a global lockdown. Well, no. If I agree that it's necessary to have a global lockdown, I think that we have precautions that we need to take, and the scientists, the immunologists, seem to be in agreement. It makes sense that keeping a distance and not having large groups of people, yeah. There's historical examples of that. Like I detailed last week, you had some cities that went on, they took precautions. They wear masks. They didn't have large groups, and they survived 1918 pandemic just fine. Very few cases, if any. And then you got Philadelphia. Oh, we're gonna have a parade anyway, and they were decimated, thousands and thousands and thousands of deaths. Oh, I drank the Kool-Aid. What can you do? What do you do with a comment like that? Oh yes, now it's a big fat lie that there's an autoimmune disease. Is that what you were trying to write there? So rheumatoid arthritis is not a debilitating autoimmune disease. Lupus is not real. That's not an autoimmune disease. Okay, all right. I can't do that. Let's see. Well, let's address this before I pull the plug on this show. Oh, and before I pull the plug on the show, I'll get to the question in just a second, Kevin. New information. I'm not telling anyone to do this. I'm just saying what the law is. So you know who I'm addressing this to. I'm not giving legal advice. In Colorado, at the state level, if you want to change a judge in a criminal proceeding, it is not enough for you to have a supporting affidavit with your motion with the facts showing that the judge is so biased against you that a fair trial is not possible. You have to have 2 affidavits from somebody you're not related to or in business with. 2 affidavits of disinterested people who witnessed what the judge did. They have to have, so you have to have at least 3 supporting affidavits in Colorado. Now, again, that doesn't mean if you've got a case, I'm telling you to do that. I'm just telling you what it says. I'm going to get accused of that anyway. No. So whether I put a disclaimer in there, it doesn't matter. I do appreciate them tuning into the show, though. So, wow, the numbers are really bad today. Holy crap. Marc, trying to understand how the U.S. Constitution is the supreme law of the land, yet I'm not understanding the claim of where is the proof that laws apply. Do you have a post I can look up? I have not only posts you can look up, I got a lot of videos. So you could just go back into the archives. There's one, and I think it's a great video, and I break down this whole thing. You want to look up the video I did regarding Jerry Cobb, C-O-B-B, and Bill Montgomery. Now, at the time, Bill Montgomery was the elected county attorney here in Maricopa County. He is a sitting Supreme Court justice right now. I guess I didn't have to say right now because I said sitting. But he is a current Supreme Court Chief Justice, Associate Justice. And that's where I break it down. The Constitution is supposed to be the supreme law, the top. That's what is the source of all laws in the state or at the feds. That is the source of all their jurisdiction. All of it. All of it, Kevin! I love that movie. All right, I don't do a very good Pacino, but you would think it would be easy to do the all of it. And if you don't get the reference, it's the end of, what's the name of the movie? Devil's Advocate. Love that movie. Not understanding the claim of where is the proof that laws apply. Okay, real quick. Their claim, again, I'm not making this up. This is their claim to fame. If you also look up that video with Jerry Cobb, and you want to see my article with Scott Bales, B-A-L-E-S, and I go into a lot of detail there also. There you will see and hear their foundational claim, which I'm not making up. If you're physically in Arizona, the Constitution and laws apply, and give them jurisdiction. And you don't have to be accused of violating the law for that to be true. It's a written instrument. So my question is, and I asked the Supreme Court Justice and the future Supreme Court Justice when he was county attorney, and you'll see the actual email from Jerry Cobb, who's the communication director at the time, and he said, this is the official position of the office. So I just want them to have evidence to support the claim, and they can't. They had no evidence. Just like we were discussing on the show last week, on Saturday rather. There is no evidence. I'm going to disconnect from there. There is no actual evidence. And if you had evidence, you would have to show that a written instrument from 1910 applied to me just because I was physically in Arizona, and give me the facts to prove that that's true. I also show that just because government is just men and women forcing strangers in the community to give them money, that no reciprocal obligations of allegiance and protection could be created. Now, you'll hear people attack that position by saying I'm making that up or just basing it on one case, and it's not even law. It's dicta. It's just what the court was saying. Doesn't mean it's so. My position was: is it true? It's dicta. I'll give you that. It's just the court explaining their reasoning. I'll give you that. But it is law because it's enshrined in the Massachusetts Constitution. The operative thing that what's important to me is it true? Was the Supreme Court wrong in Luria versus United States? It's Luria versus United States. Were they wrong when they said that's what a citizen was? Of course, the critics don't like to answer that. Oh, that doesn't matter. It's dicta. The question is it correct? Of course, we can dispel with all that dicta crap by bringing the Massachusetts Constitution. Yeah, Real Jingy is saying all of them. I didn't do a very good Gary Oldman. I actually used that as a thumbnail because I was talking on the show about all the laws applying, and I used that line in the thumbnail, and it's one of the highest viewed videos. So there is some truth to picking a good thumbnail. Yeah, that is a great line. So I hope I explained it there. I hope I explained that well enough that they're making a claim. Again, I see so many. I don't give a damn how you frame the type of question, type of claim it is. You make a claim against somebody in court. The rules say you have to have facts. You have to have evidence and law to back it up. And if you're going to make a claim, you can't just turn around and say, well, yeah, that's the claim I'm making, but I don't have to prove it because when you ask me a question about it, it's off limits. And so if they're going to make a claim against me, I'm not talking about anybody else here, okay? So you know exactly who I'm referring to right now that's watching this. I'm talking strictly about me. If someone makes a claim against me in court and I can't challenge that claim, especially when it's the foundational claim, if I can't challenge it, that's not fair. I can't defend myself. The bare minimum of due process, bare minimum, notice an opportunity to defend in a meaningful hearing. Meaningful. So that's my position on that. If they're going to claim their constitution is the supreme law of the land and gives them jurisdiction, and they're basing their determinations against me, they're making that claim against me, I think I should be able to prove that. And to turn around and say that I'm insane or I'm an idiot because I think a claim should be proven, that's why I the only thing I can say to that is fango. I think those of you who think you can make a claim against me and you don't have to prove it, well, honest people can see that you're the con man. They can see that you're the dishonest one. You're the one raising a frivolous argument. And they're not going to listen to this garbage, or at least intelligent people won't. We don't have to prove that. We don't have to prove that. The judge won't the judge won't make me. And that's true. The judge may not. That doesn't mean that the argument or the question is frivolous and has no merit. What doesn't have merit is the claim, I can make a claim against you and I don't have to prove it. Also, remember, you cannot judge the fairness, the justice of a organization's actions by using only the organization's rules. I think it is the height of idiocy. And I've done entire videos on this, right? That this is not new. The idea that you're going to judge Acme Corporation, their actions, whether they're right or wrong or justified, and you're going to do it strictly on their rules. Oh my gosh, that is ridiculous. Of course they're going to judge their actions as good and moral and ethical. Of course. What idiocy. We're only going to judge the Chinese government. We're only going to judge their actions. We're only going to judge them based on the Chinese government rules. Well, yeah, everything's legal. Of course, just like Spooner. Any group of banditti can call themselves a government and legalize all their theft. Yeah, of course, any group of criminals can do that. If you're going to judge an organization's actions, you cannot just use their rules. It's one thing, it's great. Show that they don't even comply with their own rules. I'm all for that. We do it all the time. But this idea that is put out in an effort to discredit my work, come on, let's use some good old-fashioned skepticism. And I've asked that question to critics, and I don't get an answer. Even when you bring out their own law, and this is a holding, this is in dicta. You look at International Shoe, the act of acquiring jurisdiction, and I know there's conflicting lower court cases, I know, but the U.S. Supreme Court has held for like 60 years. The act of taking jurisdiction may not offend traditional notions of fair play and substantial justice. Is making a foundational claim against me where I can't challenge it consistent with fundamental fairness and traditional notions of fair play? I think that's a pretty easy question. So an honest criticism would be, Mark, your argument is right on point. Has no business in court. That's honest. I disagree with it, but at least it's honest. But to turn around and say that the argument itself is ridiculous and has no merit whatsoever. Maybe if the one critic is right, well, you can't use basic principles of logic in court. If you accept that nonsense, well, maybe you got a point. Yeah. I think I could see that if you accept that ridiculous argument or claim. That's another thing my critic, you can't use basic principles of logic in law. Oh, then why is the burden of proof on the accuser? Why? Why do you have to have a foundation when you ask a question on cross-examination or direct? Why do you have to have a foundation? Why? Why isn't evidence admissible if it's not relevant? Why is that? Got to be a skeptic. When their gun is pointed at you, Mark, yes, it's fair. You had your day in court, right? Yeah, there you go. That's when you have government, literally government agents, officials, officers, and counselors of the judicial system accusing you, or accusing me, of being a predator. Praying. It's absolute. I mean, my gosh, the irony there. How many of you that I've helped had a mortgage, literally mortgage their house to get some help? How many of you have been psychologically tortured into entering a guilty plea and signing away your rights to appeal and any money that those people took from you? How many of you have had that done by me? So I'm going to end on that. I think we just got, I think I finished out the hour there, so I'm glad about that. We did cover a lot of ground there. And, look, if you disagree with what I'm saying, we didn't get any calls today, but hopefully maybe we'll get some more, like on a Saturday show. We'll get more on Saturday. We tend to get more on Saturday anyway. So if you think it's not a hoax, or if you think it is a hoax, you think 5G is actually causing this, well, call in. Let's have a discussion. Don't do, I'd much rather have a discussion in real time than try to do it over text, which sucks for a discussion. So another lie, so-called importance of protein. Just look at the makeup of human mother's milk. It has less than 2% protein, yet infants triple in size nursing when they would need to, when why then would we need to obsess about it? Well, because protein needs do change, and I don't know if mother's milk is really just 2% protein, and maybe 2% protein is all that's needed. That's such a small body weight. I can tell you from, at least this is anecdotal, but it's based on some pretty sound science and studies. This is why I do it. If I do not get 80 grams of protein a day, I will tank on my workouts. I know that if I've hit my minimum threshold of 80 grams, and I'm doing that based on that, you need 80. You need a gram of protein per kilo of body weight. If I get my 80 grams, I may not do outstanding on every lift, but I'll do good. And I will absolutely tank if I don't. And if I go a week of not eating, getting sufficient protein, and I still bust my hump working out, I'm gonna go backwards. So I know last week I made sure, because I struggled a little bit with all this stuff going on, and I had it. I struggled a bit because I hit a 401 deadlift for 5, and I tell you, the last one, no hitching. I'll drop it before I hitch, but it was tough. 401 for 5. And then for 2 weeks in a row, I absolutely bombed, doubling or tripling 411. What? And I made sure this last Thursday night, I made sure I got my 80 grams of proteins. And I went in and I hit a pretty solid double with 411. So I should have gone for the third one, but I did. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to disagree with you. I think the protein is overblown. I think if you're an athlete, I think the scientific recommendations based on studies of thousands of people, a gram of protein per kilo of body weight. Right? I disagree with them that say you have to have 2 per pound of body weight. Wow, you're going to get, your kidneys are going to hate you. But I know for me, 80 grams of protein a day, I'm good. Obviously, it's oversold because they want to sell protein powders. I don't use that. Black beans and lentils, it's easy to hit 80 grams of the proteins there. And obviously, my 80, a gram per kilo body weight is for if you're active, if you're very active. So the more active you are, and the heavier you are, then that's the thing too, this thing with the baby. Your protein needs are going to go up based on your body weight and your activity. That's a no-brainer. So if I wasn't working out most days, and I'm talking gymnastics type stuff, Olympic weightlifting, powerlifting, squats and deads and cleans and snatches. I work on the rings. If I wasn't doing that, I wouldn't need 80 grams of protein a day. So I'm going to go ahead and you're going to have to compare apples to apples. So comparing the needs of let's say a 9-pound baby to an adult, I don't think so. And I would have to say, I don't know if the 2% is correct. So I'd have to check that out if it was that important. So anyway, I appreciate everyone tuning in. Oh, Alex Jones, Grandma Bones, and Alex Jones gives me all the protein and male vitality I could need. Oh man, that's funny. I want to see Ball of Confusion base licks, Mark. Oh, that would really set off my critic. I don't think I'm pulling the base out. Ball of Confusion? I have to look that up. Not familiar with that. Wheels of Confusion? Yeah, that. But I'll take the guitar out for that. If I'm going to play anything, it'll be on the Les Paul. So not worth pulling that bass out. All right. I appreciate everyone tuning in to the big show today. If you want to help still support the show, and talking about Corona as if it's not a hoax has definitely cost me people who were supporting the show. And that's unfortunate, but I'll keep doing what I can. If you want to help support the show, it's markstevens.net and what do you call that? markstevens.cells.com. Until we're live again on the Saturday show. Salud a tutti.